Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my March wrap-up. So we're gonna have a typical wrap up here. You guys know how they go. I'm just gonna be talking about every single book that I read in the month of March and telling you my ratings and my thoughts. March was a good month. I read 12 books, but one of them was a DNF. So we'll start with that one, but there's a good mix here of books and I'm excited to talk to you about all of them. So first of all, let's start with the DNF, which was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I was really looking forward to this one because you guys chose on my Instagram stories for this to be my nighttime Kindle read. I really wanted to have a book designated for right before bed, cuddling up and reading on my Kindle at night. Like that was gonna be the only time I ever picked it up. Unfortunately, I did not like this book. The writing and the characters were way too immature and cringy for me to continue. I was just thinking to myself, like, is this real? Like, are we actually talking about this right now? It's a sports romance, friends to lovers. The male protagonist plays in the NFL. He's your typical hot, fit guy with lots of money, and then the girl, her name is Bree. It's Bree and Nathan. So Bree, right off the bat, you can tell she's freaking in love with Nathan, but she's not gonna sabotage their friendship by telling him how she feels. They're just like the best of friends, but that's all they'll ever be. Nathan's got these girls coming over to the house. Bree is like a big part of his life, so sometimes the girlfriends get weirded out by that and they make him choose between his girlfriend or Bree. It was just too typical and like cheesy. I really couldn't get through it. The characters were just very immature and I did not like how the writing was trying to be quirky and funny. It's a rom-com, but like it was trying too hard. That's unfortunate. Kind of ruined the Kindle nighttime vibes that I was looking for. Another thing that ruined that is that my Kindle actually ended up dying on me and it needs to get the battery replaced, but that's just not something that I'm wanting to deal with right now. So I have to figure out like what battery even goes. If you guys know what battery I need, like if you could drop the link in the comments, that would be super helpful so that I could like order it and then figure out how to open it. If anyone knows, I know this is pretty common. I have not had this for a very long time, but it eventually happens where it just won't turn on. It won't show anything other than this exclamation point thing. If any of you have had to deal with changing out the battery of your Kindle, please let me know what I need to do and then maybe it'll seem easy enough and I'll do it, because I really love reading on this, but for the time being I'm having to like just use my iPad or whatever. So this kind of put a damper on my nighttime Kindle reads, but I'm hoping that I am able to pick up another one maybe later this month or next month. I'm not sure, just depends when I get this fixed. But yeah, if you have any insight, please let me know. That would be super helpful. The other one that I read, started to read on my Kindle, but then when this happened I switched over to reading it on my iPad, and that is Credence by Penelope Douglas. And this was nowhere in sight on my TBR for March. Like I was not expecting to pick this up super randomly and spontaneously, but over on Ginger Snapped Reads channel with a bunch of other lovely booktubers, they hosted a read-along for this book. They have an unofficial book club called the Literature Book Club where they basically read cringy dark romances. For March they did pick Credence, and I've been wanting to read that book. I saw the sprints on my YouTube recommended page, so I just clicked on them and I was like, all right, downloading Credence now and I'm gonna start reading with them. So that's how that came to be. If you don't know, Penelope Douglas does write lots of taboo dark romances. So this book is about, what's her name, Tiernan, whose parents just pass away and she's in a rough spot and is sent to go live with her uncle and two male cousins in Colorado, in the mountains of Colorado, that's like super secluded in like a cabin or whatever. It's great scenery. Like the setting of this book is super fun and cozy. It was a good time, but it is very taboo. So what Penelope Douglas does with this book is turn it into kind of like a reverse harem slash age gap slash incest type romance. So she does kind of start falling in love with, okay, so let me explain that the uncles and the cousins aren't blood related, but still, you know, it has that kind of weird icky feeling that it is incestual, but they're not blood related and she's never really like met them before. Anyway, so then she starts to like get in this love, what would you call it? a love square, maybe a love square with the uncle and the two cousins. It's crazy, okay? It's crazy, but I loved it. So I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars just because I had to like take a step back and really remind myself of what morals I have and not just give it an immediate 5 stars because it was such a fun time. But it is crazy, it is a little weird, and it's very smutty. So I had a good time, but I'm not giving it 5 stars because I just feel wrong doing that. But I am giving it 4 out of 5 because I don't know, it was crazy, it was fun. Got its issues, plenty of issues and whatever, but it was fun. So that's all I'm gonna say there. I kind of feel really weird about not DNFing Credence, but I did DNF a soft, fluffy rom-com, The Cheat Sheet. I felt weird having to DNF The Cheat Sheet when I finished Credence. I was like, something's wrong with me. I guess I know my limits. I guess, I don't know. That's that. And then the next book I don't have physically is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Very unfortunate read for me. I had a terrible time with this. I was just so utterly bored with this story. I did read it with my family for our family book club. We wanted to step away from the romance a little bit and read something a little bit different, and I had heard great things about this book and it was on my radar since last year, since joining booktube and all of that. I know a lot of people read it, a lot of people loved it. I didn't see the point of it. It was, first of all, not my type of genre, not my type of book that I would generally even like anyways. I just felt like it was a big old waste of time and I don't understand why people like it. So I did give it 1 star. I would have DNF'd it if it wasn't for the family book club. Actually, you know what I did? I ended up having to read the spark notes, like the chapter summaries for that book, because I had been listening to it on audio through my library, but I couldn't get through it. Like the writing style was awful too. Not awful, it was just awful for me. Like the writing style did not work for me whatsoever. So I had to read the chapter summaries, and then when I got to the end of the chapter summaries, I was like, that's it? What was the whole point of this whole thing? Like, I don't understand. It just wasn't for me. So I did give it 1 star. That was probably my least favorite book of the month, probably. Okay, that's it for all the ones I don't have physically. Now let's get into the ones I do have physical copies of. Starting with the first one that I read is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I did want to read this for the Literally Dead book club, this was supposed to be the February pick, I think. I finished it in the very first week of March, so I was able to join the live show because they did end up postponing the live show for like a week, so I had plenty of time to get this read. Then I was able to join the live show, so that was nice. I did read this and I gave it 3.5 stars. I wasn't 100% sure how I would feel about this book, but I knew that it was like a dad revenge story. It was a little too action-y for my taste, so that is what knocked down my rating a little bit, because there were lots of scenes that I just ended up skimming because it was just like, oh, he jumped over there and then kicked this guy in the face, and then he like fell into the bookshelf, and I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't like reading action scenes, I would rather watch them. So this book deals a lot with racism and homophobia because you're following the two main characters, Ike and Buddy Lee. They are the dads of 2 sons who were married and they were murdered, and so they don't know who it was that killed them, but they're out to seek revenge and find that person. But they have to like band together and they have their differences. You're following them learning how to accept their sons as gay men because they did not support that when their sons were alive. They kind of want to make up for it by finding their killer, but it's hard because they're already dead. So it's like the fathers are obviously filled with lots of grief and regret that they didn't handle the situation necessarily the way they should have when they were alive. But yeah, there's a lot that goes down in here. If you like action-packed scenes, it's suspenseful, it's pretty good, and yeah, I gave it 3.5. That is Razorblade Tears. Next, I read A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. This was a 5-star prediction. Unfortunately, it didn't end up being 5 stars, but it was a 4-star. Did enjoy my time with this, but there were also lots of things that I kind of had gripes with. But by the end, when it all wraps up and makes sense, I was like, wow, this is actually a really clever book, and I enjoyed it. It's about this man named Travis, and he has a talent for finding missing people. He can like touch things and get visual memories of what the person he's looking for went through. You follow him as he stumbles upon upon a cult in the woods, and then you follow a whole new set of characters. But I thought that this was gonna have animals involved in it, but it doesn't. So if you also think that, stop thinking that, because there's no animals in this whatsoever. It's all about people. It's very cultish centered, but it is mysterious. The writing in here is really amazing too. So this was a 4 out of 5 stars. Oh, next, I forgot, there's another book that I really disliked this month, and that is The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert. Unfortunately, I really did not like this story, and I would have DNF'd it, but I just decided to like get through it because this was gifted to me by Jenny from Jenny Reads Maybe, and it's like her favorite, one of her favorite Friends to Lovers, and I felt so bad for not also liking it. I didn't like the characters in this one either. Kind of similar feelings with the cheat sheet, just like the writing and the characters were not easy to connect with for me. I found them to be really immature, and the story was really flat. Like I said, I did push through it, so I finished it and gave it 1 out of 5 stars. Sometimes that just happens and it's fine. This is about Jasmine and Raoul, and it's another Friends to Lovers, but I did not like Jasmine as a character. I thought she was very snotty and stuck up, and I don't like reading about those types of characters. And then Raoul was just a big old simp for Jasmine, so there was hardly any tension. Also because there's a smut scene literally on page 20 or less, and that's a flashback. They have sex on the first night that they meet, so there's no tension whatsoever. I'm just not a fan of that. What's the point of this whole book if they kind of already got together? Like, there's no emotional connection. Yeah, but like that just threw it all off for me and didn't make me want to root for them, you know? I do have vlogs for a lot of these throughout the month, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts as I'm reading them, I do have vlogs for these two. I didn't vlog Razorblade Tears. I will have all the March vlogs linked in the description, so you can go and find them and watch them if you haven't already. Along with The Roommate Risk, for that vlog, I also read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, and this is a little sci-fi robot political government story that I really enjoyed. The writing in here is really good. It's quite funny. I loved the main character, and it's basically about this girl. Her name is April May. Her and her friend film a YouTube video in front of this ginormous statue, robot looking statue, that April May stumbles upon one night in New York City at 3 a.m. and it literally just came out of nowhere. Like, she's never seen it before. It's really hard to miss, so she knows that it's never been there before that night that she discovered it. So her and her friend film this video, and it goes viral overnight, and she's in the video, so she gets all this instant fame for being the person who discovered this robot. And then they find out that there's lots of these robots all over the world, and they're all called Carl. So now there's this mystery of where these Carls came from. The government gets involved. It gets kind of political, and April's life changes in the blink of an eye, and she has to deal with fame and death threats and stuff like that. An interesting take on social media, the nature of celebrities, and the cultural response to the unknown mystery of where these robots came from. They think maybe it's aliens or, you know, whatever it is. Anyway, this is just a fun time. It was really adventurous, and it kind of reminded me of Ready Player One. There's a lot of like riddles and things to solve throughout the book that the main characters are trying to solve. It's just a fun, adventurous, light sci-fi novel that I really enjoyed, and I gave this 4 stars. And then next I read Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This is a young adult retelling of Cinderella. It's very nerdy. It's really cute, and I gave this 3.5 stars. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed my time with this. It wasn't too cheesy for me, and I liked all the nerdy references to a bunch of movies and different things within like the nerd culture and stuff. This follows Elle and Darian. Darian is this famous heartthrob actor, dude, and Elle is a blogger. She's a big fan of cosplay and this movie called Starfield, and this is very accurate to the actual Cinderella story, so it's just got that nerdy twist on it. It was fun, so I liked this one a lot. The next 2 were the Coffee Break Book Club picks for March. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. There is a reading vlog, so I'm not going to get into too much of my thoughts on this, but I loved it so very much. There's also a live show. All of it will be linked if you want to check it out, but this was a super fun sci-fi pick for book club, and I had a great time reading this, and I really am craving another space story. This was so fun, and I definitely want to check out The Martian by Andy Weir. His writing is fantastic. It was so funny. I was laughing a ton, highlighting a ton, and I loved the characters in here. And I think I actually met my #1 favorite character of the year, and that might change throughout the rest of this year. I don't know. My favorite character as of right now is Rocky from Project Hail Mary. This was so fun. And then the next one for the book club was The Collective by Allison Galen. I didn't love this one as much. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was kind of predictable and a very average thriller for me, but it is a revenge story about a mom finding the killer of her daughter. So the daughter is killed when she's 15. The mother is angry that her killer did not receive justice, so she resorts to logging onto the dark web and finding this group of women that their whole purpose in life is to take action on finding these killers, giving them what they deserve. And then things go back for the main character, and she's starting to question everything that she knows about these ladies that she met on the dark web. Yeah, I don't know. This was okay. Like I said, live show and reading vlog if you want to hear more. Okay, and then the final 2 that I read this month that I did not vlog at all are For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. This was a fun time. I also ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars because it's supposed to be an adult thriller, but it felt more like young adult to me. It reminded me of The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. So it's dark academia. There's this professor that seems to be killing off all of these people within their school, and he's very psychotic. He drinks milk at night. Lots of different characters you're following in this one, but if you like a dark academia setting, murder mysteries, then you might like this one. It was fun, but like I said, only 3 stars because it didn't blow me away. And then lastly, we have The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. And guess what? We have another 3.5 star actually. I was not expecting the light horror that was in this. It's a thriller, but there's definitely light horror, and it's about this motel where this woman named Viv works at, and then one night she just disappears. 17 years later, Viv's niece, Carly, I think is her name, wants to find out what happened to her aunt, because the case is still very much open. They never caught anybody, never found anybody guilty. Carly is determined to figure out what happened that night at the motel when her aunt goes missing, and lots of things start to go down, but it is light horror because the motel is a little bit haunted and spooky. There's a dual timeline, so you're flashing back to read from Viv's perspective and then forward to read Carly's perspective. It was a little bit predictable, but the characters were very enjoyable and I had fun time. That is this one. Okay, now that is all the books that I read in March. I feel extremely winded talking about all of them. I feel like it's been a little while since I've had a lot of books to talk about, but that is it. That wraps up this video. So let me know what you guys read in March. If you have a new favorite book, let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to let me know if you have any advice on fixing my Kindle. That would be very much appreciated. So I hope you guys are all having a great day, and I will see you hopefully in my next video very soon.